most anti-central narrative in the Bible. We describe Farallon as a table a lot of times. I've done several messages on that. I would say this is the anti-table story. Because see, the table, when you build a table is outward. Table is inviting. People come and sit at the table with you. It's a level play space, unless you have like high chairs and stuff, like Jonathan has at his house. I always have to sit in a high chair when I go there. But most of the time, our table is level and it's outward, inviting people in. A tower is opposite. So this tells a story of a group of people that are only hanging out with people that sound like them, talk like them, look like them. Yeah, it's community, but it's all the same. There's no diversity. And I want to tell you, if in your circle, everybody in your circle thinks like you and acts like you, and it's all like that, it's going to quickly become a very boring circle. So they start moving, and I want to point this out. The writer wants us to know they're moving eastward. And you're like, that's not a big deal. It's just something simple in there. Like if you live towards the river, you live towards the east. So it's like, oh, I live east. I'm going to go, when I leave here, I'm going to go home. I'm going to go towards the east. But in Hebrew literature, there's a little more meaning than that. Because in Hebrew literature, when someone is heading east, the writer wants you to know that they are heading in the wrong direction. Give you an example. One, the temple and the sanctuaries in the Old Testament, they are all faced towards the east. Which means when you enter the doors of the tabernacle, of the temple, you walk in from the east, but you're walking in to the west. The wise men in the Christmas story, to see Jesus, little baby Jesus, they traveled from the east to find Jesus. Isaiah, in his book, says the Messiah would come from the east. Matthew 24:27, he also says that. He says, for as lightning that comes from the east. I think we have that scripture. I think we should anyways. Matthew 24:27. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible, even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Maybe we don't have the scripture. So in Hebrew literature, the east is a source of blessing. Now it's kind of a paradox because if you are traveling east, that means you are going the wrong way. That means there is trouble in your future. The story of Cain and Abel, when Cain, after he killed his brother and he was exiled to the east. The story of Abraham and Lot, when they separated and Lot chose which way to go first, he chose the east and he ended up in Sodom and Gomorrah. When the Israelites, when they were in exile to Babylon, to the east. There is dangers, there are troubles to the east. So the writer wants us to know that this group of people, they are going the wrong way. And anytime we find ourselves moving in the wrong direction or going the wrong way, we will find ourselves in the same place that these people did, because it goes on to say they settled. And anytime you continue to go the wrong way, eventually you're going to get tired. And you're going to just settle for whatever there is right there. You're going to be like, well, I'm never going to get what I feel God has for me. I'm never going to get what the life I want. And you just keep going the wrong way. And then you're just like, okay, I'm going to accept this. And there's some of you here, you have accepted this life that you are living, which is just problem after problem, trouble after trouble. And you're just like, you just keep going in these cycles, and your life is literally hell on earth, and you are just like, this is it, and you've just become accepting, and you've just settled. This is the life that God has for you. And I want to tell you, that is not the life that God has for you. He has so much more. You may need to reevaluate which way you are going. So there's this mastermind. His name is Nimrod. Crazy name, right? Like if there was somebody, like if you were going to school and there was a guy named Nimrod, you would probably make fun of him. You would not make fun of this dude. Why? Because, and obviously his parents are big Green Day fans, naming him Nimrod. If somebody didn't get that, don't explain it to him. But Nimrod, he was a rebel, he was a mighty hunter, and he was a giant. And he was the king of this area. And he had this idea, and he went to the people and he said, hey, we're going to build a tower. And it's going to be a big tower. It's going to be a huge tower. It's going to be the best looking tower you've ever seen. And he said, and it's going to reach to the heavens. It is like a construction project on steroids. And they start building this tower. Now, if you were going to build a tower, and you had bricks, and you started with these bricks, and you started building this tower, what do you think? What would be the first thing you would do? Obviously, you would take a selfie and post it to Instagram. You know you would, Willis. These are moments people need to see. So Nimrod gets his people together and they start putting this tower together using these bricks. Now, if you just read this story and you're thinking of community, you would be like, what's the big deal about this story? Like, it's a group of people, they are progressing, they are working together to make this happen. What's the problem, right? It's community. But the problem is, yeah, it was them working together, but it was all about self-gain. And anytime you're in a community that the reason for doing stuff is inward, to profit those only within the community, then it's most likely the wrong kind of community to be in. Because community should never be inward but outward. So that, and inviting. So when people on the outside look in, they're like, I want to be a part of that. Not, we would let you come in, but yeah, we already got it taken care of. I don't know if you follow me on Instagram, but we're doing pretty good. It don't look like you could carry any bricks. And they get focused on this, and it just becomes all about them. And you're like, well, it's unity. But if you're not careful, that unity can quickly become uniformity, where it's just about how this looks and how quickly we're going to get to the top. And hey, everybody's going to check out my tower. Everybody's going to see how awesome this looks. Everybody's going to see how amazing this is. Everybody's going to be talking about this. Everybody's going to want what we have. Oh, everybody's going to see on our live stream how great our praise team is. Oh, everybody's going to look. Oh, we're going to take some pictures. Let's take some pictures, see how many people we have in attendance today at Farallon. Now, let's see. Oh, there's other churches. Oh, what? How many did you have? We had this. That's not outward. That's inward. That's the wrong kind of community. That's not what we should be about. And they start building this. Now, in my mind, I'm kind of thinking like this, because maybe it started off like, hey, we're doing this together. But after a while, as they start building this, they're just so focused on building this tower, and somebody's like, hey, you know what I think would be a great idea? What? Let's put a window right there. Window. Yeah, I need a window. What are you talking about, dude? Yeah, I just think it would be good. Like just a little window you can look out. No, dude, windows are so last year. We're not doing windows. We're all about bricks. Bricks. Give me the bricks. And they just continue to stack these up. Now, as they continue to stack these bricks, the Bible said that eventually what happened is, because it became all about them and them trying to see, hey, look how close we are to God. Look how close, look. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed. we let the Holy Spirit know he was welcome right before Pastor Jimmy came up to speak. And yeah, if you look at the picture, over half the congregation had their hands raised. What, you got people that are sitting down during worship? No, you got, what, you guys don't sing that song? How does the Holy Spirit know that he's welcome? And you just start nitpicking everything apart and just want everybody to see, hey, everybody, come look how spiritual I am. Look how great I am. Look how high I can lift my hands. Yeah, I know all the different hand-raising motions. And they start building this. Now, God saw this, and he's like, no, man, you guys got the wrong idea of what community is supposed to be about. So God comes, and he confuses them. Now, this is how I'm thinking this went down, okay? Because these guys are pretty determined, right? Plus, you got this, even though he may not speak the same language anymore, Nimrod's still a pretty scary dude, even if he's just grunting. So I kind of picture this, that they continue to try to make this happen. Maybe like some charades or something going on. Maybe, I don't think they gave up just so easily. And then I'm thinking, like, how did they realize, like the moment they realized, like, oh, we don't all speak the same language? Because it's probably like brick, brick, brick. And then eventually it was like blip, 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 what the heck, blip, hey, blip, 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 blip. What? Whip, 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 whip. Hey, whip, 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 whip. What? Whip, 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 whip. What? What? Oh, whip, oh, whip, 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 whip. Whip. What? And eventually they just gave up. That's how I kind of picture it. But they built this tower. If I can put this up here without falling down. And it's easy to go, okay, this is like a history lesson. This is a history. Like this story, and I think why a lot of times we skip over is like, oh, this story really don't really apply to today, I mean, oh yeah, that's a cool little story, but yeah, there's a lot of people speak different languages. A lot of people do this. But there's way more going on in this story than when you first look at it. Because they had something unique for the first time ever that they never had before. Bricks. Because anybody know how they built before? What they had to use? Rocks, stones, right? Stones are all different shapes. They're harder to stack. You're not going to be able to stack them as high. Now they have brick. They've invented bricks and invented mortar to start building this. Now, when something new comes along, and a new invention, and what do we call that? We call it what? Blip? Blip? Yeah. But no, what do we say? Like, oh, those pesky kids and their new technology. So here, now we've had brick. We've had brick for a long time. But here for the first time ever, they now have brick. It's a brand new technology. Now, I'm not, listen to me. Listen, I love technology. Technology isn't bad. Like, I mean, LCD TVs, good. Air fryers, good. Any product that Apple makes, good. But if technology becomes the center of your attention, because as new technology comes out, what comes with technology? Power. We were never able to do this before. Now we are. And if we take that technology and we just apply it to what's going to make me better, what's going to improve me, what's going to make everybody look at me, then we are thinking inwardly. But if we take that technology and say, you know what? I want to help Chris out. I want to help Miss Denise out. I want to help Pastor Rocky out. And you start doing that, then that's using that technology for good. But what happens a lot of times is like we start using this technology to the place where we start to feel like we are a God, or it takes place of our God. And that this is a story. This is not just a history story, but or a story of what happened back then. But this is a story about a warning that, hey, there's always going to be the new thing. There's always going to be something else, and that's great. And it's okay to celebrate that. If you have ideas and it's a success, we're going to celebrate that. But there's a warning that comes along with it, because you have a responsibility to use that new thing that you have to help improve those that are around you. So it's a warning about that, and it's a warning about the kind of community that you're a part of. Is the community you're a part of, does it have an inward mindset or does it have an outward mindset? Do people from the outside feel welcome to come into that community? Or is it a social club and it's like, you don't have electric blue shirt, you can't come in. You don't have Nikes that kill your feet. You walk around, but you can't come in. And see, this is what happens. You start building towers. Eventually, the towers become something else, because, see, right now, I'm on this side of the tower, and you're on that side of the tower. So what started off as a tower has now become a wall that has separated us. Because, well, now I'm at this level, and you're still at that level. So now, I'm a little bit better than you. See this tower? Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Some of the boxes match my outfit. Don't know if you noticed. And here's the thing. A lot of times you hear a message, and I've done it too. Listen, I've done this too. And you're like, oh, looking around, you're like, oh, so-and-so should have been here. I hope this is being live streamed so I can show it to them. This is a message for them. And a lot of times we think everybody else is Babel. And if they would just change their mindset, we'd get on the right course. But dare I say that we all have Babel inside of us. Because we all have a them and us. We all have oh yeah, it's those people. Yeah, maybe it's somebody that did you wrong. Maybe it's a coworker that took credit for something that you did. Maybe it's somebody that cheers for the New York Yankees. But we all have a them. And we got to be careful about that, because if we get too carried away and we start thinking of them as them, then all we're doing is we're building this tower, and now it's, oh yeah, I'm better. Oh, what, you have road rage and you curse that person out? I never get road rage. Oh, what, every time you get paid, you just go out and blow all your money? Not a big deal, but I got $72.50 saved. Oh, what, you don't eat healthy? I'm on keto. Not a big deal. Maybe one day I'll show you how I do it. Yeah. Oh, you forgot to pray today? 7 hours of prayer. It's God's perfect number. Yeah. I mean, not consecutively. That's crazy. But, within it, if you add it all up, round up, 7 hours. And it just becomes, we're better. we're better. It becomes about them and us. And if we're not allowing the thems in our lives to be a part of our world, it's going to be a very small world eventually. So we're going to go from that story to another story that's found in Genesis 9 about a group of people that had a wall put around them and was the them for many of the Israelites in the Old Testament and New Testament. So we're going to go to Genesis chapter 9, and this is post-Ark Noah. Post-Ark Noah story. One of the rare post-Ark Noah stories that you're going to hear a preacher talk about. So Noah, he gets off the ark. All right, he's been there for a long time, no doubt has a long beard. He starts a vineyard. He gets a little too familiar with the grapes. And he gets a little more than just tipsy. We find this story in Genesis chapter 9, verse 20 through 25. It says, Noah, a man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. When he drank some of its wine, he became drunk and laid uncovered inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father naked and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it across their shoulders. Then they walked in backward and covered their father's naked body. Their faces were turned the other way so that they would not see their father naked. When Noah awoke from his wine and found out that his youngest son had done to him, he said, "Cursed be Canaan. The lowest of slaves will he be to his brother." Now, I think if this was a reality show, a good title for the reality show would be Naked and Unaware. Be a great title. You know you'd watch it. You would. So Noah, he curses. Now, he don't curse Ham. I find that interesting. He curses Ham's youngest son, Canaan. Now, and listen, when you got, like, right now, like, somebody, like, curses you, you know, it's like, what? I can't believe you did that. I cursed you. You know, like people do. You're like, whatever, dude. Whatever, not a big deal, right? It's just words. Back then, this was a big deal because this was your father's favor. This was, you wanted blessings. You did not want curses from your father and from your family. I mean, this is like cancel culture with divine consequences. So Ham's son, Canaan, is cursed, which meant now Canaan's sons are cursed. Starting with his oldest son. His oldest son is this dude named Sidon. Now, I find this very interesting and something I didn't pick up on until last night when I was writing this all down in my book. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Sidon, who we're talking about now, and the dude we talked about in the earlier story, Nimrod, are first cousins. Now you're like, a big deal. Why do you find this interesting? Because I'm a Bible nerd. And if you're not a Bible nerd, you'll find this very boring, but I'm going to do this anyways. We have a genealogy chart. If you could pull that up, Noah. This is Ham's genealogy. Now, Ham was the guy that was Noah's son, youngest son. Now, he had 4 children. Over here, his first, Cush, his last child, Canaan. That's the one that was cursed. Cush has some number of sons. One of them being Nimrod. So obviously Cush, big Green Day fan. Canaan had a son, had a bunch of sons. One of them being Sidon. Now Sidon, he had a bunch of sons. So many sons that he became a nation. And that a nation that's mentioned in the Bible again and again and again, and not in a good way. Start with the book of Judges. In the book of Judges, the nation of Sidon become like the neighborhood bullies. Over and over again in the book of Judges, they conquer and oppress the Israelites. And it just goes from generation to generation to generation. It's like a long episode of a reality show of a dysfunctional family here. And then we go to 1 Kings. And we see King Solomon. And King Solomon, he likes, apparently, the Sidonian women, because he starts to marry them. And they introduce him to their goddess. And the goddess' name is Ashtoreth. And they start worshiping in Israel the Sidonian goddess Ashtoreth. And then we go royal generations later. There's a king of Israel. His name is Ahab. And he marries a Sidonian princess named Jezebel. Maybe you've heard of her. She gets talked about quite a bit in the church. The nation of Sidon is a hated nation for the Israelites. Then you have prophets, big-time prophets, like Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, constantly, over and over again, predict doom for the nation of Sidon. Jeremiah says, the nation of Sidon has no hope. And the Israelites are reading it and like, yeah, they're going to get it. They're going to get what's coming to them. It's like a biblical soap opera, but instead of background music, you just have prophecy after prophecy after prophecy. Now, years later, we go into the future. Jesus comes on the scene. And the time Jesus comes on the scene, the Sidonians, they are blacklisted. They are the outcasts. And to be fair, they've done a lot of bad things. So the Israel's like, yeah, they're going to get what's coming to them. I can picture it like outside of Sidon, the Israelites put up signs of Jeremiah and Ezekiel's verses. Talks about there being no hope. It talks about them fading away into the darkness. It's like, yeah, just want to remind you. Just want to remind you what's going to happen. Yeah, jerks. But Jesus comes on the scene and he says, you know what? Oh, that rule book that you guys have been going by? Yeah, the one about the Sidonians and how they're cursed? Yeah, we're going to throw that out the window. And you're like, what? And then Matthew 15:2 tells us that Jesus goes to Sidon. Now you see Jesus walking that way and you're like, yeah, Jesus is going to go and see how bad it is. It's pretty bad, Jesus. I mean, I've never been, but I've heard. Yeah, pretty bad. The only restaurant they have in Sidon is Burger King. That's it. They do have one McDonald's, but the ice cream machine's always broken. Now, Jesus, he doesn't only go to Sidon, but the Bible tells us when he gets there, he starts communicating with the people. He don't only communicate with the people, the Bible says that he starts healing them and performing miracles. And then he starts bragging about their faith. So the people that the Israelites hated, the ones that they could not wait for them to receive their punishment. Yeah, karma's going to get you. By the way, I just want to say we're Jesus people. We're not karma people. That's right. We don't believe that they're going to get what they deserve, because if they get what they deserve, that means we get what we deserve. So if you've been waiting, I can't wait for karma to get them. I say you may be waiting a while, because as Jesus people, we shouldn't be wanting the worst for those. I think there's somewhere in the Bible that says something about you should love your enemies. He starts communicating with them. He heals them. He brags about their faith. He don't only dismiss the Sidonian curse, but he goes on to say this. In Luke 10:14, he says, but it will be more bearable for Tyre and Sidon and Sidon at the judgment than for you. So Jesus don't only say that. He says, oh yeah, I didn't only go there. I didn't only talk with them. They had some great jokes. I'm just saying. Oh yeah, healed some people. Yeah, they're amazing faith. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to tell you. Yeah, they're actually better off than you. People that their identity was wrapped in this hierarchy of they were good enough. They were so close to God because of everything they've done. And Jesus says, no, the people that you thought were the lowest of the low, they're better off than you. Can you imagine the gasp from those religious leaders when Jesus told them that? See, in Jesus' day, and it's going to be kind of odd, we may not be familiar with this, but in Jesus' day, there were people that they held their views and their convictions and their loyalties with a clenched fist. And if anybody came against that, they were wrong. Very unlike today. That was a joke. It's very much like today. It became who had God's favor and who didn't have God's favor. Who's in and who's out. Oh yeah. We're who are you voting for? Oh, that person? Yeah. I saw that one picture where Jesus is wearing a Republican badge. No, I saw the picture where he's wearing a Democrat badge. Well, no, I saw one where he was wearing the Independent Party badge. No, Jesus isn't a Republican. He's not a Democrat. And listen, you got to be careful, because if you think that our salvation or our fix is in a political party, you're wrong, because that is not where the solution is. And dare I say, if you are surrounded with only people that think the same way as you got to be careful, because that is a sign that, hey, my world and my circle is very small, and it's only going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, because we're supposed to respect and love each other regardless of our differences. Just who has God's favor, who didn't have God's favor, who's in, who's out. And this is what I believe that God's wanting us to do here at Farallon. And I'm saying this. When I felt like God gave me this message, I was like, man, God, we're doing good. Like, God's moving. Like, people are. You can just look around and look at the diversity and just what God's doing here. And I think we have all done a really good job of being that table. That's how I look at Farallon, as this table that's inviting and accepting and loving. But that doesn't change the fact, because that some of us, we still have that Babel in us. Where we're looking at other people and it's like, ooh, you were where yesterday? Oh, you did what last week? This is what? This is what? Your 27th husband? Huh. I had to think of a number that I didn't think anybody would be at. If there's somebody here that's been married 27 times, that wasn't about you, and I apologize. Oh, well, you own a Chihuahua. What? Oh. We all have that in us, and I believe that what God's saying is, I have so much for you. And you got to let go of that. I believe what God's wanting us to do is, hey, those towers that we have, we start taking them down. Because here's the thing. You don't know the situation that the person sitting next to you is going through. They may be going through so much stuff you wouldn't even imagine, but they're just not telling everybody about it. That thought is like, man, I'm doing way better than them. No, it's possible if circumstances were a little different, you may be in that same seat as them. And God's wanting us to take down this table, and these blocks. See, these blocks that we've built this table with, what I believe that God's wanting us to do is he's wanting to take these same blocks that we built this tower with, and he's wanting us to build something else. Because see, there's so many people that their only link to Jesus may be you. The only Bible that they ever read may be you. And I'm not talking about you telling them over and over again of all the things they've done wrong and how they need Jesus. That's not what I'm saying. When I say the only Bible they may read is you, I am talking about your actions, because that's what they're looking at. Because I believe that over this next year, and really just as we go through our lives, God's going to put the people of Fairlawn in these unique situations and come in contact with people that are hurting, in contact with people that right now they feel like their city and they feel like they're cursed. They feel like there's no hope. And they've been put on the outside for so long. And God's going to put us into contact with them to let them know, hey, you don't have to live like that. Hey, that's not you. That's not your identity. And maybe you're here this morning and people have told you how bad you are, and how wrong you are, and how evil you are, and how terrible you are, so much that you started to believe it. And you just think, that's who I am. I'm not even going to try to get better. I'm not even going to try to do anything different. You've been headed east for so long. There's no reason to turn around and head west now. And I believe that God wants you to know that those things that have been said about you and those things that you started believing about yourself, that's not you and that's not your identity. Because your identity is you're a son of the King. He says, oh yeah, what? Oh, somebody said you're cursed? Yeah, we're going to throw that curse out the window. Because I believe what God's calling us to do is tear down those towers and build a bridge. I was reminded, and I'm going to end with this, I was reminded of a poem that I heard a while back as I was writing this. And it's called The Bridge Builder, and I want to read it to you. An old man going along highway came in the evening cold and gray to a chasm vast and deep and wide. The old man crossed in the twilight dim. The sullen stream had no fears for him. But he stopped when safe on the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. Old man, said a fellow pilgrim near, you are wasting your strength with building here. Your journey will end with the ending day. You never again will pass this way. You've crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build you this bridge at evening tide? The builder lifted his old gray head. Good friend, in the path I have come, he said, there followeth after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. This chasm which has been as naught to me, to that fair-haired youth might a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Oh, good friend, I'm building the bridge for him. It's easy to think, well, I did it alone, so they should do it alone. Why? I mean, I had it really hard. Why should they have it so easy? Because that's how it works. When we have that outward mindset, it's not, oh, how can I make everything easier for me? It's, but what can I do for the next person? What can I do to help them? Oh, what, you're going through that? I went through it alone. That was terrible. There's no way I want you to go through that alone. I'm going to walk it out with you. So my friends, my family, my awesome my awesome best friends at Fairlawn Church. May we be a community that builds bridges and never a community that builds towers. Grace and peace. I love you.